Hello, everybody, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. It's Sunday, the 29th of October, 2023, and I'm your host, Carey Holzman. We've got the final build part two, the finale of the build for Beth, and she requested a white case. So we ordered the NZXT H5 Flow. I mistakenly was calling this the 510. It's maddening to me when manufacturers can't be more diverse with their product names. So there's an H5, there's an H5 Flow, there's an H5 Flow RGB, there's an H510, an H510i, all from NZXT. But the H5 Flow is one that I like currently. The H510 feels a little aged by now. It's still out there, you can still buy it. And in fact, we recently did a video with it. But the only thing I don't like up here is we have that single USB type A and a single USB type C up here. I'd like to see two USB type A's. And down here, we've got a fan that's sort of sitting on an angle right down there, which I've shown you in the past. We've already prepped the motherboard in the previous video, the Z790 SteelLegend Wi-Fi with a 13500 Intel Core i5 using the stock cooling fan, which is all that's needed. Even no matter how hard you push the CPU, that cooler keeps it cool. So it's best bang for the buck right now when you consider the latest chip, the latest flagship is the 14900K. That's a $600 chip with sales tax, or about $650, $650, $660. And then that will not come with a cooler, and it's a very hot processor. It can reach 6 gigahertz, and it's going to suck up a lot of power, generate a lot of heat. And I've got a customer who has changed an order, and they decided they wanted that 14900K. Now, I think it's a waste of money. I think for half the amount of money, you get 7/8, 3/4 of the power, more than 3/4 of the power on the 13500. The difference between them is so minimal. You get a few more cores, you get a few more megahertz. I guess if you really need every little drop, this customer does want every little drop, and they want 64 gigs of RAM, and they want that at the highest rated speed that chip will support, which is 5600 DDR5. And we'll put it onto a another ASRock, but this time we'll do the new C790 that has Wi-Fi 7 built into it. So that'll be an upcoming build, in the next week or two. And that'll be replacing one of the 13500s. That means I have an extra 13500. So you'll see a couple more 13500 builds, because quite frankly, I think, I haven't made it clear, that's the best bang for the buck right now. Pair that with whatever motherboard you want, whatever RAM you want, whatever solid state storage you want. That chip is really where the focus and the value is. And so everybody else is being blindsided by the latest 14th gen. It's really not a 14th gen. It's still a 13th gen that they've sort of binned on, some little more power out of this old chip and gave it the 14th gen name, even though it's really a 13th gen that's just been polished. So the 15th gen I'm looking forward to, but we might have a while to wait before that comes out. So in the meantime, I will work between now and then on reducing the inventory I have, which isn't helping as I'm adding more inventory. The good news is I've got more systems going out the door than I can complete anytime soon. So I'm not in a situation where I'm necessarily looking to sell a system, other than in general, I'm always looking to sell a system, but I'm already backed up by 3 or 4 systems right now. So if anybody does want to order a system from me, or you see something on the channel you're interested in, do reach out to the email address on the About side of the YouTube channel. You click on our YouTube channel, there's an About section, and then there's an email address where you can reach out for your inquiries. The other thing, I wanted to mention something else here. Thank you to everybody who has contributed. Thank you to all my members. A shout out once again to the folks over at $300 Data Recovery. I hope you never need data recovery services. I hope you're always making backups like you're supposed to. But if you ever do need data recovery, I hope you don't spend more than you need to and deal with people that take longer than they really need to take to get your data back, or to make any attempt, because not all data is recoverable. I don't think you'll find anybody on the face of the earth that does data recovery professionally as quickly, as cheaply as $300 data recovery. They're the highest rated data recovery company on the planet on Yelp. Read the reviews. If you're curious what data recovery costs, call around and get some prices and then compare that to $300 data recovery. And as you're calling around getting those prices, look up those companies' reviews on Yelp. Then decide, do you want to spend more, wait longer, and deal with a company that's lower rated? Or spend less, get your stuff back faster with a company that's the highest rated, that nobody's rated higher than data recovery services? It's a pretty simple decision to make, don't you think? So my thanks over to folks over at 300 Data Recovery, specifically the owner, Brian Cometa, and hopefully we'll have a little road trip out to California here. I don't know, in the next month or two, we go out and visit him and follow up. I'm just fascinated with all the specialized data recovery equipment he's got. It's nerd heaven over there. So this system, we're building this for Beth, and we have the motherboard prepped. All we have to do today is put the power supply, which is the NZXT C650 bronze, into the case, put the motherboard into the case, and then wire it up with a little cable management. This could ship out as early as tomorrow. It's got a long trip down to Florida, so it'll take a full week to get there. And we definitely are approaching the holiday shipping season, and we don't want to wait too long, because the length of time it'll take for delivery will be extended, the cost will be higher, and the likelihood for damage, just because there's a lot of holiday help and they're not in it for the long game, you know? They're just moving packages. It doesn't really matter how they move them. I mean, it's supposed to, but in any event, it should all get there in one piece, hopefully. And we're not adding any graphics cards to this. We're going to use the internal graphics, and if at any point Beth wants to add a graphics card in the future, obviously the system can handle that just fine, provided that 650 watts will be enough. Otherwise, she might have to change the power supply. But she has no intention of adding discrete graphics. The onboard graphics will be fine, or integrated graphics. And so I'm sure she'll be excited to get that. And I thank her for her patience, for ordering the machine, and for being a part of this video project that we're doing. Planet Cryos contributes $5. He says, I got the best seat in the house, first row. White always looks good on camera. 14th gen is just a 13th gen. 14th gen plus, I call it. Hope you are well, friend. Hey, thank you, Planet Cryos. And Planet Cryos recently did some videos with some of the latest hardware. So be sure and check out his YouTube channel. If you enjoy my content, I think you'll enjoy his content as well. Give him a like and a subscribe. Head on over there after this video is over. Also, a shout out to our good friend Doug Betts over at Live Windows Training with Doug Betts. Does a lot of live interaction on his videos that are early morning videos while I'm still sleeping, so we don't interfere with each other, and it's a great way for you to also get more content from a real working computer technician. Whereas most of the tech content here is hobbyist and enthusiast, but it's nice to get a little variety and the source of the material. So be sure and check him out. And also Jim KJ3N. Jim KJ3N also has a YouTube channel, member of our community here. And those are 3 channels you should be subscribing to and checking out and showing some likes and loves. And it's just more content of regular folks or technicians doing projects unsponsored because they want to do them. And Doug Betts is the exception there because he's a working computer technician. Abdul Azim Patel with $9.99 contributed in Super Chat. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you as always for your generosity and your support. And hello to all my friends in blue. Look at all those badges in the chat room. Holy cow. Thanks you guys for being supporters. You're what enable me to make so many more videos without having to get on bended knee to some manufacturer for their blessing. I really appreciate the support so that we can continue to make the videos that we want to make, how we want to make them, when we want to make them, and to what level of detail. And that's not possible without you guys. Planet Cryos contributes $5 again. He says, this is for Beth's build. Go get it. All right. Yeah, this is, thank you, Planet Cryos. This is a, I think, a really good value for a case. They're like $85 over on Amazon. Probably Newegg and B&H Photo, I would guess. It's a full ATX case. You can tell by counting the number of slots we've got back here. If we've got 7 slots, we're full ATX. If you're full ATX, in theory, you should be able to support anything smaller. So we could put a micro ATX or a mini ITX in here, though they would look really tiny. The opposite is not true. If we have a mini ITX, we cannot put a larger board into it. Micro ATX case will not hold a full-size ATX motherboard. So if it's bigger, we can go smaller, but if it's smaller, can't go bigger. So there's a lot of versatility with the case, and I really like how NZXT's really thought out the cable management. We've got the rear case fan already installed and this front angled fan, which, I don't know, it's pretty unique. Plus their cable management is, did I say that already? Really well thought out, and the build quality on their cases is fantastic. So we're using an NZXT power supply as well. I am a big fan of NZXT's quality. So everything but their motherboards. Didn't they have motherboards for a while? Or am I thinking EVGA? But NZXT's power supplies, I've had not a single one go bad as far as I can remember. And then their cases have been fantastic. I do have the original Threadripper was built in an old NZXT H5, and the power button's stiff and sticking, and NZXT said they don't make those power buttons anymore. That kind of upset me because that means for me to fix that, I can't just buy the front panel. I would have to either manually get out a soldering iron and fix it, and I can't be bothered, or buy a brand new case and literally move everything from one case to the other over a stupid button, which, I don't know. That's kind of upsetting, but it's the only NZXT case I've ever had do that. So I'm not going to hold it against NZXT because, you know, bad products can happen. Things can happen. Not everything's perfect all the time. Now, if I get a series of them that all start exhibiting a very similar issue, my tune will change. But for now, I just jam down hard on the button and eventually it makes contact and the system will power on. I don't know when all that started, but it's been going on for a while. And that's the system I use over at Studio A, the original Threadripper community build. Coming up this week, looks like I'll have the Serve the Home server. We're going to gut that out of its fractal design. What is that, a 7XL case? We'll put it into the Be Quiet Shadowbase 800DX. I also have a system, it's a 12900K, that a liquid cooler isn't cooling. And Be Quiet sent me a couple of their new CPU coolers, air coolers. And from what I'm reading on the box, it appears it should be able to cool a 12900K. See that to believe it. So that'll be coming up as well. I also have to finish the build for Gregory Howard. And I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. I've got 2 more builds to do as well. I'll try and get done this week and next week. And they'll be more similar. There'll be a B760 with a 13500 and 32 gigs DDR5 RAM using Team Group branded memory. Then I've got the 14900 build that'll be coming up. That'll probably go into Corsair 200R. So it'll just look like a sleeper. And it'll have 64 gigs, I think, of Corsair Vengeance 5600 RAM DDR5. Not sure what I'm putting in for storage. Part of me really wants to use a PCIe Gen 5 NVMe drive, but they're a little pricey. And the performance difference, apart from looking at the benchmark numbers, the actual feeling of how fast it is, isn't, for most people, very noticeable. However, this customer might notice it. So I'm going to kick that around some and we'll see what we come up with. And all those builds and more coming up in the weeks ahead. So plenty of work to do. Hello to Dustin Fuller and hello to Elko Stoffels and Mark Gaines joining us here in the chat. Joseph Hawkins joining us from New Zealand. Bryce Hosking says hello from New Zealand. Garfield Rupe says hello. David Graham contributes $5 in Super Chat. He says, Carey, you're sounding hoarse. Are you okay? Sorry, that's my impression of a horse. Am I sounding hoarse? Do I sound hoarse? I don't know what you're talking about. No, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Ben Laird says hello from Scotland. Hello to Gary Tatum and to Dom Parada, Gil Garcia. Our friend Luke Greenia in Vermont, Eddie Casanova. Welcome in, everybody. Ben Laird, did I say that already? From Scotland? Short-term memory's gone. Bull142 says hello. Ron Barnish says hello. Welcome in. LRCX joins us. Arnold Albert. Ryan Simpson. Dave Hibbert says hello from London. John Guy Gravel says good day from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Mats Olof Rickardsson joins us from Sweden. BLD0550 says hello from Minnesota. Richard says hello from Toronto. Steve Bulk says fall flu Carey. You'd have to socialize, I think, to get... That would require me to leave the building. It's scary out there. Just stay in with the doors closed, pee in jars. This is the Gatorade bottle, right?
Hey, there's no sickness here.
So denial is how we take care of our sickness or illness. Okay. Well, with all that out of the way, I guess I can do some work. Planet Cryos with a $3 super chat. Right on. Thanks again, Planet Cryos. Planet Cryos has some cutting edge hardware over on his channel you might want to check out. He's got a heck of an investment in motherboards and CPUs and accessories. So if you want to see the latest and greatest in hardware, he's been getting it first. Be sure and check it out. He's already, I think, done a review on the 14900, if I'm not mistaken. 14900K. And he's already done a review of a Wi-Fi 7 motherboard, which the new ASRock I'm ordering will be Wi-Fi 7, and I'll be able to attach it to Wi-Fi 7 on this TP-Link router. See if I can get 46 gigabits per second or whatever the heck it's supposed to be. JP Call says, I'm looking forward to the air cooler tests on the 12900K. I've never used a all-in-one liquid cooler, and I have no intention to, but I'd love to up my chip from a 10600K to a 13900K. It's not a real big difference in those, honestly. You might want to just wait another generation or two. There'll be a slight performance increase, but it's not going to... I mean, I guess it depends on what you're doing with the machine, but it's really not that big of a frequency response difference. Now with the 14900K, I guess you can hit 6 gigahertz, and depending on what you're using it for, you could potentially see more difference. Each generation, you're going to get about 10% faster. So between the 9th gen and 10th gen, well, you're on 10th, so 10th and 11th is about 10%. 11th to 12th, 10%. 12th to 13th, about 10%. And that's going across the same line of chips, i5, say an 10600K versus 11600K, 12600K, 13600K, 14600K, 10% on average. So I don't know. I would wait, if I were you, I'd wait another generation. Look at the 15th. Okay. Paul O'Brien says hello. Les Stevenson joins us. All right, so I guess we're gonna start putting my work here. This is all going to look very familiar to some of you. Maybe a bit of deja vu as the last system we prepped. What did I do with that one? That was the NZXT 510, wasn't it? And then using the same board, same chip, same RAM, same storage. Western Digital 4 terabyte Gen 4 SN850X. I saw Samsung had their 4 terabyte 990 on sale at Amazon. They've been listing it at $299 and they had it for $288. I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to try harder. The Lexar Gen 4 is 209. Why would I pay $90 more for the Samsung? It's not even Gen 5. Samsung's really falling behind. So I expect the Samsung 994 terabyte drives to come way down in price when the holiday shopping season hits us here in a few weeks. I think they're just getting their last hurrahs in because they know to make sales, they're going to have to severely cut that price. And I think they're probably good drives made by Samsung, you know. But on the other hand, the Western Digital drives are excellent and same warranty. They're cheaper. And those Lexar drives, 4 terabytes for $209 for Gen 4. I've never used one, but it might be worth looking into. I mean, $90 is nothing to sneeze at. Way so I can open this up. All right, so here's what it looks like in the box. This is our documentation that came with the case. These are our modular cables and our power supply. Let's put that right over there. Okay, so I don't know why they put a diaper on this. Got to change the diaper on my power supply. All right. So we can take these out of the package. Oh, look. The box, they shipped me in a box. Inside had this bag, inside of which is a bag. Screws for the power supply. We're going to definitely use those. I guess you can take these instructions out of the bag. I don't know why they put them in a plastic bag. I guess this is to keep them from going stale. Fresh. H5 Flow. So I'm going to take all the extra cables we're not using and all this extra documentation we're not using. It'll all go into this motherboard box along with any spare screws. That way, when the owner of the computer wants to do any upgrade or repair months or years from now, as long as they remember where they put this box, it'll have everything they need in. I'm not that organized where everything has to be in certain rows and columns. As long as I know everything I need is in this little area, I don't care if it's just thrown in there. As long as my search area is limited, I can get in and get out quickly. All right, so we'll take these screws out of here. These are the power supply screws. And then I'm going to move that motherboard somewhere else so we can open the case up and start putting things together. This should look really good with the RGB and the white. And the case is, sorry, not the case, the motherboard is black and white. So it works equally well with a black case or a white case. You could certainly see the black version from the last video we did and compare it and see which one you like better. Do you like the white or the black better? Let's go ahead and move this. Let's see, I am running out of space. They're going to find me in here on an episode of Hoarders. There for now. The trick is to be able to remember where I put it later. All right, so we have one screw right here for the glass. Now these screws do stay captive. They don't come all the way out. That way you don't have to worry about losing them. Whoa. Well, that just fell right off of there. So there's our side panel. It exposes a little cardboard box that has all the hardware mounting screws and probably some zip ties and other things necessary for building a PC in this case. And then on this side, there's a little tab right here I'm going to push my thumb against it and push it away towards you guys. And that lifts that glass panel off. And we've got plastic on the inside and outside. I'm going to take the plastic from the inside off, but we'll leave the plastic on the outside. Huh. Plastic only went up. It went up to that point right there for some reason. But that way, by leaving the plastic on the outside, that's the part that's exposed that's going to have to endure shipping. If I wasn't shipping that, then I wouldn't. I mean, I'd just go ahead and peel the plastic off entirely. You'll see these are our cable management. Now these, this case is more budget, so it doesn't have the plastic cable management tracks, but who cares? This does the job. We've got Velcro cable management straps going down the line, right down the center here. We've got our front port umbilicals up here. We want to take all these wire ties out. These will get brittle over time. Purple burglar alarm. They say Scottish people cannot say purple burglar alarm. Purple burglar alarm. I don't see what the big deal is. Purple burglar alarm. Super easy, Scottish people. Speaking of Scottish people, a shout out to our friend Buster, who is not tuned in right now, but I know he'll be watching later. And I thank Buster for all of his contributions and generosity, and just want to give him a shout out, let him know we're thinking about it. Richard wants me to say purple burglar alarm 5 times. Purple burglar alarm, purple burglar alarm, purple burglar alarm, purple burglar alarm, purple burglar alarm. Oh, did I already hit 5? Super easy. So now I'm taking out this cardboard box of hardware. Get rid of this zip tie. No, this is not a zip tie. This is a twist tie. I'm calling zip ties twist ties and twist ties zip ties. I don't even know what's going on. Let's see. So there's a look on the inside, and we have that funky fan there on an angle, which is kind of cool. I'd like to see more case manufacturers utilize this design. You see, it's got a little plastic housing right there, and it draws air in from the front bottom of the case and blows it up towards the rear of the case. It's very clever. Planet Cryos with $2 says, shout out to Carey. Hey, thank you, Planet Cryos. All right, so in the box of hardware, we have screws that are in packages that look like condom packages. Not sure they understood the definition of the word screw properly. But be that as it may, what do we have here? Oh, nylon zip ties in a plastic bag. The plastic bag, by the way, was in the cardboard box, which was in the case, which was in the box, which was shipped in another box. And the case, of course, was wrapped in plastic. So these were very, very well insulated from everything. And we'll go ahead and take these. These are really nice. These are like little 3-inch zip ties, and they're great when you're doing the front port umbilical stuff. Ben Laird said there's no front fans on that case. They do sell a version of the case with front fans that are RGB. It's called the H5 Flow RGB, but we didn't want the RGB. And there is a front fan, as I just got done talking about. This is your front fan right here, right down there. Right there's your fan. That's bringing air in from the front. It's actually, in my opinion, better than a traditional front case fan. These are primarily there just for aesthetic, just for a look. So this person is Beth. Beth would like a little RGB, but she doesn't want to go over the top with it. So, and of course, if you want to buy the RGB version of the H5 Flow, it's like $20 more or something. So the more ridiculous it gets, the more expensive it gets. It comes less value for looks. Paul O'Brien contributes €2. Marlena, say hello in person to the crazies. That's what she's doing now. So what am I going to need for power here? Let's see. Oh, I don't think we need a power cable for anything other than the motherboard. So just the additional EPS power connector, right? Because we hook that up. Right here. Thank you, Paul O'Brien. Ben Laird contributes £2. Ben joins us all the way from Scotland. Purple burglar alarm. Thank you, Ben. Purple burglar alarm. I taunt you with a purple burglar alarm. Okay, so I don't think I need any of those. More twist ties. And separate these bags out. These bags are all labeled with what the screws are. You're supposed to know what they're for. It just gives you the technical specifications of the diameter, length, and pitch, which means nothing to the average person. It'd be nice if they said fan screws, drive screws, you know, stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to be using the, for some reason, NZXT gives us a GPU power cable on the semi-modular. I don't understand why that's not a fully modular cable that we can plug. Sort of defeats the purpose, in my opinion. But I'm going to go ahead and just tie this up and get it out of the way now. That'll be easier for me to do. Well, as power supply is still outside of the case. And then we can go ahead and add our extra EPS power connector. One side says CPU on it, that plugs onto the motherboard. One side says nothing, but it's got a very small clip on the side, and this hole that it plugs into in the power supply is very narrow. So you cannot plug this side into the power supply. It will not fit in. So it does matter which end goes where, but you can't get it wrong. So, you know, you want to accept that challenge and prove me wrong. You can't get it wrong. It won't go in any way but the right way. Purple burglar alarm. Okay, so I'm going to move that aside. We'll move this aside. And we'll put some screws in here to hold this power supply in place. And Uncle Carey's going to need his glasses. Can't see so good without my glasses. It's kind of difficult to put these power supplies in when you have the shroud on this side. I'm used to holding the power supply, you know, like this and aligning it. There's no way for me to get my hand through here. It'd be nice if this came off. Oh, wait a minute. It does have screws. So those are little plastic tracks for the glass to sit on. It actually might come off. But I don't want to have to flip this thing upside down. I'll suffer through it and do it the hard. Sure, why not? Just want to get these started. You know, things are busy over here when I'm broadcasting on a Sunday. I did try to broadcast yesterday, but the folks at Amazon decided I didn't want to deliver this case until well after any reasonable broadcast time had already passed. Sometimes Amazon will get that stuff here before I'm out of bed, and I'm like, hey, start a video up. And other times it just says it'll be here before 10 p.m. and then there's no other update. Usually what I have to do to make it arrive is leave the house, go grocery shopping or something, and then my phone will bing and let me know there's somebody at my door dropping off a package. See how these cables, when they hang off the side, they tend to drag everything off the desk. But this is what our power supply looks like. And you know, with the black power supply in there, it doesn't look bad at all, I don't think. We've got one extra standoff here that we're going to put in to the case. We're going to put that, let's see, put that right there. And there is also a little socket, so you can use a regular Phillips head screwdriver to tighten down this standoff bolt. But I use a regular 5mm socket on a ratcheting driver. I picked up a ratcheting driver kit from Harbor Freight Tools, and it came with a bunch of little bits. One of those bits it came with is the 5mm socket, and I just took the 5mm socket out, and that's all it is. It's a permanent tool just for 5mm standoffs. That's how often I need it. I just dropped that screw somewhere. It's the standoff right there. And I know there's not much for you to see right now, but bear with me for a second here as I try to get this aligned. I do like that NZXT gives us the white fans along with the white case. A lot of cheaper manufacturers, they don't really think it through like that. You know, you can go on Amazon or AliExpress and you can find cases that are painted, and then the fans are like an afterthought. So for our motherboard, which screws do we use? These screws right here that say they are 6/32 by 5mm. Now, don't confuse that 5mm with the 5mm standoff. Very different type of measurement. So now you'll understand why I keep the little plastic bags, right? So we can take these screws out of here, and the ones we're not using, including the little socket that can go in here now. Since I have to cut these, sure would have been nice if they'd have given us some Ziplocs for those. No, they give us Ziplocs for the instructions, but not for the screws, as though we're going to use every screw we've got and not be able to put them back in anything. So yeah, these little baggies do come in handy. So we're going to need, what did I say before, 9 of these? I'll just get some of these cleared out of here. And we're going to lay down the case so we work with gravity. And you will notice that we do have a couple of filters on the bottom. These filters do need to be cleaned at least once a year. There's one that goes underneath this intake fan. That's that angled fan right there. And then the one on the other side is for the fan on the power supply. Remember, the fan on the power supply is drawing air in. It takes air into the power supply and then blows it out the back of the power supply. It never enters the computer case. And with everybody so fascinated with fans and temperatures, no one ever really thinks about their power supply. A lot of people leave this neglected and it gets clogged up and it's effectively suffocating the power supply. In the meantime, they've got 87 fans running across their motherboard and the power supply is just practically on fire. Because there's typically no temperature sensor, it's out of sight, out of mind, and so there's nothing for people to unhealthily unhealthily, is that a word? Obsess about, so they can focus on other nonsense that doesn't matter in the reality of, important things with regards to computer cooling and reliability. That is the nature of things. I suspect that it's only going to get worse as time goes on, as people obsess about stuff that doesn't matter and completely ignore the stuff that does. I just hope you're smart enough to not get caught up in that nonsense. Let me see if I can fit the board in there, if we've got all the standoffs in the right place and the right number of standoffs. So I'm going to grab the motherboard here. Now, I don't wear an anti-static wrist strap because I don't hold electronics by any of their metal parts. I only hold things by plastic or by edges. So if I do have an electrostatic charge built up in me, it'll dissipate onto a grounded area and it won't cause any harm. Then I don't feel like I'm on a leash like a dog. And if you handle your parts correctly, you don't have to wear an anti-static wrist strap. However, if you choose to, there's no shame in it. If you're somebody who just believes in ghosts and things like that and you want to protect yourself, I mean, don't let me get in your way. Have at it. Do it however you like, whatever makes you comfortable. Or if you have an employer that tells you you've got to wear one when you're in their warehouse, then you have to wear it because the employer's paying you. So one of the things I like about being self-employed is I don't have to follow ritualistic nonsense that doesn't make any sense. Everything I do, there's a logic and a reasoning behind it. Now, whether or not you agree with that really doesn't matter because it has no impact on my business. But I do try my best to explain the logic so that hopefully you guys will say, oh yeah, I never thought of it that way. I get that. All right, let's see. There's one. I'm not going to tighten these all the way down. I just want to get them started. 2, 3, 'that side up so high. 4, 5, 6, 'Just making sure we haven't caught the fan cable or anything. NZXT does a great job of routing the fan cable on this rear case fan. It's got a little cable clip that holds the cable up and out of the way of the motherboard. Not too many case manufacturers give you that level of consideration. I certainly, for one, appreciate it. It does feel like something's underneath here that's causing us to, it's causing the top of the board to sit up, and I'm not quite sure if I'm missing something, but I'm going to try and put a screw down in there and see if it just needs a little coercion. Okay, one more to go. I saved this corner for last. I really should start with this corner. 1, now I can tighten them all down. We're on a torque setting of 3 on the driver, and the driver does stop when it hits the torque setting that I've set on the clutch here. Now, it's not important that these screws be the same torque setting. It's just the way I do it, and it ensures a level of consistency because, you know, I have to support these computers after I sell them. So if a customer ever has a problem, like ever in the lifetime of ownership, I would hope that they would think to call me. And I just want to make sure that I haven't forgotten to tighten one all the way down and that, you know, it vibrates loose in shipping, let's say, and then who knows what kind of damage can occur. So by having every screw torqued down to the 3, and I'm not turning my wrist over and over, because at this point in my life, I'm sure I would have had carpal tunnel syndrome a long time ago. Number of systems I've worked on. And then these extra motherboard screws are just going to go right back into this bag here. And this bag, along with the other bags, we're done with them. They'll go into the motherboard box, which is otherwise empty, along with these extra cables, the power cable, and the instructions for the case. So what does this look like when we lift it up and show it off with the motherboard in it? Probably helps if I put it on its feet instead of on its back. There we go. Oh, it's a nice clean look. Just trying to clear some of my work area away here. So as far as our front port umbilicals, we've got our front port audio, front port USB type A, front port USB type C, which has a little cover on it. We've got a connector that kind of looks like a USB cable. And this is the front panel connector. This gives us one connector that hooks up all the switches and LEDs instead of putting each one on separately. I love that NZXT does this. It's one of my favorite things NZXT does, and I'm just surprised all the other big case manufacturers haven't caught on, and NZXT, as far as I know, remains alone in offering this as a standard feature on their cases. So now plugging those front port umbilicals in, we just make sure that we align with the missing pin here, which is on the, when I'm looking at it this way, it's on my top left, so I'm going to turn it so it's on the top right. And then just plug it right on where you normally have to plug all those little individual cables on. David Graham contributes $2 in Super Chat. He goes, "This is for a cup of coffee." Planet Cryos with $5 Super Chat said, "I think I'm going to dress up as Carey Holzman, the tech guy, for Halloween." Don't do that. You'll scare the kids. All right, let me get this USB 3 cable untangled here. We can push that through right through here. Now I'll worry about dressing this up and making it look pretty later. For right now, we're just going to hook it up and give it some power and turn this bad boy on and make sure it still boots okay. My USB type C header right here. That is going to go right over there. And then our front port audio cable here. We need to basically run that as far back to this side as we can. And then hopefully you bought a case that accommodates the hole there, because your front port audio connector on almost all motherboards is, at least micro ATX and ATX, is going to be on that left quadrant, lower left quadrant of most motherboards. And it's got a pin missing on the top row. Sometimes it's on the bottom row. So you have to turn the plug according to where the missing pin is on the motherboard. And then that just plugs in. And that's all of our front port umbilicals. We've got this front case fan we can plug in. And on this motherboard, we have a lot of fan headers. So we can just pop this bad boy in. Let's see, where should I put it? Thought I had one. Yeah, I do have one right here. Or I can bring it in across the bottom, right up through there. Oh, now I gotta go one more over. One more over right through here. Plug that in. It's a 3-pin fan and a 4-pin fan header, so it only fits on 3 of the pins properly where it aligns, so you can't really get it wrong. Although you could force it and get it wrong. I've done that before. And then back here is the fan power cable for the fan towards the back here. Undo this Velcro tie that's back here. We can take this fan cable out. Again, we want all the wire ties removed, regardless if it's something you're using or not, and replace it with a nylon zip tie so you don't have to worry about any potential issues in the future that will just surprise you. we're going to run this one right next to the other fan cable, and we're going to plug it next to the other fan header, right at the bottom of this ASRock motherboard down there. And then our big 24-pin motherboard power cable. Let's see, how do I want to put that? I can go around these cables. I can go in front of these cables. Whatever I want. This is one of our CPU power. I can go up there. This one, I can put this here. Where? All the way to the top. So that's our big 24-pin power cable. And then we'll, you know, with all these nice cable management tracks along the back here, we'll make that look pretty later on. So this is one of our CPU EPS power cables, which I need to turn this around so I can see it. And it doesn't matter if I put this on the left connector or the right one. So I guess just go with your gut on that. And then we still have one more to go, which is the braided one. I don't know why one is braided and one isn't. But it is what it is. What can you do? And again, we can use that Velcro zip tie right there later on when we want to make the cabling look pretty. Then we can run this cable through. Now, you'll see I'm going to pull through a lot of slack through here. That's so I can turn the cable around and have some room in which to sort of guide the cable. If you don't give yourself enough slack, you're just making your life miserable. Once that's all done, then you take the slack and pull it back through. So what it looks like is that. And then we can grab that glass panel, set that back in its track here, and push it, and it will just snap on. Sometimes if the captive screw is in too far, it won't let you push this in. So you might have to pull the screw so that it's loose. Then it will properly seat, and then you can just tighten that up like so. Now we're ready for our power on test. This is it. I mean, that's all there is to working on these NZXT cases when you've already prepped your board. I normally would not fire a board outside of the case. I do that for educational purposes so you guys can see stuff. But normally I would prep the board. I wouldn't prep the board, rather I would put the board into the case first. And with the case holding the board in place, then I would put on my CPU, RAM, solid state drive, and cooler. I do it differently for the camera so you guys can see. Now, if I'm buying used parts or parts that are coming from a questionable seller and I don't know if those parts are any good, I don't want to install them, find out they're bad, and have to take them back out. But if you've watched my channel long enough now, you see it's pretty rare that we ever get any bad parts. Once it goes in, it very rarely ever has to come back out again. It just doesn't make the video very educational if I'm working within the case and you guys can't see. So you don't have to build it the way I show it being built unless you're also making a video and you're trying to teach people. I'm looking for my keyboard and mouse. There it is. So I will turn these on and we'll try this USB port up here. What the heck? And then power here, HDMI cable, which will go right onto the back of the motherboard here. Yeah, we can plug in the network because we've already got Windows installed, and I believe I've activated it. I went to VIP CDK deals, and I think the license was $16.16 for a Windows 10 Pro license. That Windows 10 Pro license is also a Windows 11 Pro license if you want to use it on Windows 11 Pro instead. or in addition to. Just so you know. The Windows 11 Pro license costs more, even though Windows 10 Pro license is effectively a Windows 11 Pro license. $16 and change is a bargain. Over at VIP CDK deals, the keys are all guaranteed to work. And Microsoft wants $200 for a Windows 10 or 11 Pro license, which is ridiculous when you can get it for $16 from VIP CDK deals. It's not even close to being the same. All right, so we turn on the power supply and you'll see that the RGB starts to light up here. And then I will, I guess, turn on my HDMI input, take camera 1 and put it in a corner here. So we'll put that over here, hit this button. Blue light just comes on around the button. And that blue light also flashes on half of it for the hard drive activity. And some cables in the way. It's whisper quiet. If I cut these lights, get a better idea of our RGB. It's there, you know, it's colorful. It can be turned off. In the BIOS, you can disable the RGB, or you can download the ASRock RGB software and control it there. And it's not going to be too bright and keep people up at night if it's in a bedroom with you or anything. And you can kind of see it through the front, which is kind of cool. I think by adding the 2 RGB fans on the front, it just puts it over the top. We also have room for a liquid cooler in here if we wanted to add a liquid cooler to it. We certainly could do that. The case accommodates easily an all-in-one liquid cooler. And just want to make sure both of my fans are running. I see the rear case fan running. Yeah, the front fan's running. CPU fan is running. And I'm assuming my power supply fan is running. Everything looks great. We can go to, let's see, screen over here for Carey. And let's take a look at our system specifications. Right click, properties. All right, 13th gen, Core i5 13500. It's currently at 2.5, but it does go faster than that. It turbos up. And we've got 32 gigs of installed RAM with 2 more RAM sockets available if Beth should want to double that RAM. Just make sure that she gets the exact same RAM she's got now. You don't want to mix and match different speeds or manufacturers unless you like rolling the dice on reliability. We're on Windows 10 Pro 22H2, and if we check in our device manager just to make sure that we don't have any devices missing drivers or having any conflicts, and everything perfect. And that is our build. So what I will do later, maybe tonight or tomorrow, is the cable management here on the back. But it's gonna just take a few minutes. It's so easy to cable manage these NZXT cases. And when I cable manage it, I'm gonna pull up this slack on this side, so you won't see as much of the cable. And then the nylon zip ties that came included with the case will certainly use all of those and then some. Slide that over here. And let me close this out. And let's see, that button there. And click on that button there. Control F makes me full screen. And all right, guys, so it's on you now. What's on your mind? Anything you want to talk about? Any questions you have, this will be the time to ask. Otherwise, it'll be a short show today. All this stuff, as I mentioned, all this extra stuff goes into the motherboard box with all the other documentation and other spare parts that we're not using during today's build. Because you never know, customer might want to do something at some point in the future, whether that's weeks or months or years ahead, and they're going to want that stuff. They're going to need it. NetFreak said he purchased a 2016 key for Microsoft Office and he had an issue with it, but he reached out to VIP CDK Deals customer service and they solved it immediately. So that's the important thing. It's not that companies don't make mistakes or that things don't happen. It's that in the unlikely event they do happen, that the company isn't going to ignore you or isn't going to make you wait days to get service. That's why I'm very proud to be partnered up with them. And I use those keys on systems I built for my clients. They're 100% legitimate Windows keys. Let's see. Looking here in the chat. Richard says that build looks so good, Carey. Good job. Hey, well, this was Beth's idea. So tell Beth she's got good taste in PC design. That does work out quite well with the white case. And as I mentioned, that subtle bit of RGB, a little over subtle, but it's not over the top. And it's fast and it's quiet. What more could you possibly want? She's got that 4 terabyte Western Digital SN850X in there, which is a little rocket. 7,000 megabytes per second easily on the reads, sequential reads. Robert McCord-Magooby joins us and says hello. Hey, welcome in, Robert. And Ray Cut says hello. Oh, there's Beth in the chat room now. Says beautiful. Well, I guess that's got her approval. So again, just some cable management and then the back panel. And then maybe I can get this out by the end of day tomorrow. That would be great. Because that means then Beth could receive it Friday, Saturday, depending on when I get it out. But once it gets shipped, I will send Beth a copy of the receipt from FedEx with the tracking information along with a link that she can click on to see what the estimated arrival date is. It will require an adult signature. FedEx is not going to just drop it off at your porch and drive away. So you will have to be home for it, or at least somebody that's an adult will have to be home to sign for it. It's already set up. It's plug and play ready. It has all the updates and all the optimizations as of the date I ship it. You know, if there's an update, and there usually is, that comes out between the time I ship it and the time you get it, well, it's already configured to grab updates automatically in the background. So you don't have to, but you could go to Windows Update and just double check. I always encourage people check to make sure nothing has come loose. The only thing we have installed that could possibly come loose is one of the RAM modules. So just verify that the RAM is well seated, even if you have to take the glass panel off to look before you plug it in and turn it on. Otherwise, it's ready for you to just start using. As soon as it arrives, you'll just plug in your monitor, keyboard, mouse, set of speakers, if you got a set of speakers. Every keyboard, mouse, that's USB is compatible. All speakers are compatible. All monitors are compatible as long as you've got the right ports. This has one display port out and one HDMI port out. So if you're planning on using 2 monitors and they both require HDMI, you'll need to get a little display port to HDMI adapter, or they even make a cable you can buy on Amazon of different lengths that's display port on one end and HDMI on the other. And then you can run both monitors simultaneously. And I think that's it, right? It only has the 2 video outputs on it. You got a ton of I/O on the back. It says great sound chip on it. And yeah, once you get it unboxed. What I recommend you do to get it out of the box, this is going to be laid flat, like so, into a bigger box. So all these parts will be sitting, facing, with gravity. I can't control how FedEx, if they pack it in the box, if they pack it in the truck upside down, that's why I still want you to just double check, make sure everything's, particularly the RAM, hasn't come loose. You can tell because it'll sit crooked, it won't look straight. Then go ahead and plug it in. Make sure the power switch on the back of the power supply is flipped to the on position, so I don't get the call saying it won't turn on. Make sure that switch in the back is turned on. And what else can I tell you? It should be just ready for you to start installing and using right away. There's no bloatware. There's really nothing you have to do to the machine to prep it. I've already done all that for you, including your Windows activation. So it should be that easy. Of course, if you run into any problems, you know to reach out to me, whatever way you're most comfortable reaching out to me, and I'll do my best to address any questions or concerns that you have. And I thank you so much for supporting the channel, and again, for allowing us to showcase your project here on the channel. I think it's great content, and you get your own little build video. So if you ever, want to take it apart and change things around, you can always refer back to the video on how we put it together. Try and get that from Dell. Thank you again to Planet Cryos and David Graham for your super chats, as well as Ben Laird, Paul O'Brien, and Abdul Azim Patel. Planet Cryos been very generous today. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And Richard says he's going to need a new PC soon. If there's one you see on the channel you're interested in purchasing, reach out to me. And let me know what you're looking for and what your budget is, and we'll see if we got something that can match up for you. Anybody who suggests that the Intel integrated graphics isn't good, that clearly is living in the past. The Intel graphics are amazingly capable. In fact, the 13500 build, one of the earliest ones I did, I couldn't get over just how much faster my videos were rendering. They're rendering in about 70% less time than they render using this EVGA 3070. So when people make comments like that, you know it's coming from a place of ignorance. They've never actually experienced it. Or they're just gamers and their mentality is that of, you know, frame rates and that kind of, I don't know, real simplistic thinking. And so for those people that will spit on something that's quality because it doesn't do something stupid, please don't let those people poison you with their lack of experience. It's frustrating to me because I don't build junk. And when somebody wants to judge something I'm building in a negative way, it's a quick way to find yourself out the door. It's such a lazy thing to do. I don't respect it. It's just, I don't know. It's something a child would do. So I really like to see people be kind and supportive. And if you have nothing to say that's nice, keep it to yourself, or we can just prevent you from coming back in. It's a shame, isn't it? You know, it is the internet, so we get a little bit of it, a little bit of everything here. All right. Richard says his Alienware is so noisy. Well, you could quiet that Alienware down, replace some fans. Frank Jimmy says, enjoyed today's build. I'm really digging that ASRock motherboard in the NZXT white case. It's a nice pairing, isn't it? For sure. Where's my mouse? Let's see what we got. Mats Olaf says, good night from Sweden to all of you. Right on. Well, thanks for joining us, Mats Olaf. NetFreak wants to know what color PC case attracts dust the most, silver, white, gray, black, or others. It just depends on the kind of dust you have. I would suggest you do something. If you're having a lot of dust issues, you can work on resolving that through proper sealing of doors and windows, as well as a good air filter. There's nothing you can do to get rid of dust entirely. All you can do is postpone it. So some people, depending on where you live, are going to have some darker type of dust, and some people will have some lighter color dust. It just varies on your environment. There's no one answer for that. And you're still going to have to dust regardless. There's no getting away from that. David Graham contributes $2. He says, I found this in my couch. Nice. Well, thanks for sharing. Just looking through the chat to see if there's other questions I might have missed. I'm happy to do my best to provide an answer or a direction to where an answer might be found. And also be sure and watch chat room responses, because many of our viewers are very knowledgeable with PCs and might have the answer I don't have, or an alternative answer that you might prefer over mine. And that's what we do here in the community. Everybody just helps everybody out. Bradley Morris popped in and said hello, as Steve Miller did as well. John P. joins us. Avery Ramsdorf says hello. And Rick A. says hello. Martin mentions that other cases can fit 2 3.5-inch hard drives where that fan is located. So when it comes to hard drive placement, I hadn't considered, because I haven't used hard drives in a computer. I'll use them in NASs, but I don't really use them in desktops anymore. I hate the idea, personally, of putting a lot of data on something so unreliable as a hard drive, and something so insecure as a Windows computer that it could get ransomware. It's just too easy to lose a lot of data quickly, and it's a little discouraging to try and back it up. So for me, I would suggest, if you're using mechanical drives still, consider a network attached storage unit. That's my suggestion. So with regards to 3.5-inch drives, the question is, do they give us an alternative location for them? I didn't even miss it until you just said something. I didn't even miss that. Yeah, I mean, if you're somebody that's still using old mechanical drives, this definitely would not be the case for you. And that's okay. I think you can mount your mechanical drive here on the back. That's what I'm guessing. Wonder if the instructions mention anything about the 3.5-inch drive. I'm sure it's got mounting options for it, at least for one. Yeah, that's what I figured. So they do show that the this area where it's pretty common that you can put a 2.5-inch drive. We've seen this many times over the years. It's pretty standard nowadays. And besides that, right next to it is a place where you might automatically assume another 2.5-inch drive can go, and you'd be right. But also, if you notice, it's got some screw space, holes for screws mounted further apart, and that's for a single 3.5-inch drive installation. So it will accommodate one of each or two 2.5-inch drives, just hanging them on the back behind the board. So you're not, completely out. I don't know too many actual customers that have ever called for service that have more than one drive. And most of my customers have long abandoned mechanical drives. So I'm seeing fewer and fewer of them. And mostly when I'm seeing them, they're in NASs or servers and things of that nature. But again, to each their own. But certainly heads up there to be aware of if that's something that's important to you. Gregory Howard with a $20 super chat. Right on. Thank you, Gregory. He says, here's my late fee. Hello, Carey and chat. Well, you just caught us here right in time, Gregory, as we're getting ready to wrap things up. Just asking if anybody's got any comments, questions, anything they want to discuss before we wrap it up. We're at 2:45 in the afternoon here in Phoenix on this Sunday afternoon. Dragon said he has a a 9700K Intel build from 2019. I think it's time to upgrade. 9th gen Intel's getting a little long in the tooth for 2023. I think you're fine on a 9700K personally. I would say until 2026, 2027, because you're Windows 11 compliant with that. It's no slouch. I guess it depends on what you're doing with it, though. And if you go from, say, a 9th gen Intel, say a 9700K, to a 13th or 14th gen i7, you will notice a significant improvement. Sometimes people will upgrade from one generation to the next, and it's very expensive, and you're only going to get a 10% increase. But in your case, you will see more than that, assuming you're using it. I have plenty of 9700Ks out in the field. The streaming computer's a 9900KS, and we're only using 5% of it by broadcasting. There's no benefit to me upgrading that other than just having money burning a hole in my pocket and me wanting a little project to do, which, you know, is all well and good, but I would have a hard time justifying that to any investors. If I said, hey, we should upgrade this, and they said, why? Well, because it's long in the tooth. What does that mean? What is it? Where is it holding us up? Where's the production being held? Oh, it's not really. How much more production or productivity could we get out of a 14900 versus this 9900KS? And we're only using 5% of it. So then we're just only going to use, what, 3%? So it'd be very hard to justify the cost in a business environment. But for home users, it'd be a fun project. And I wouldn't feel any pressure on doing anything with the 9700K yet. I think you still probably have another 3-4 years easily in that, if you wanted to. You could even probably take it beyond. We'll have to wait and see what the system installation requirements are for Windows 12, assuming the Windows 12 rumors are true. We might see Windows 12. If it's going to happen, it'll likely happen this time next year. And you're still going to have a year of support of Windows 10 left even after that. So Windows 10 support doesn't end until October 14th of 2025. 2025. And if a new operating system comes out in 2024, you don't have to jump to it right away. You could still wait 6 months, wait for them to work out any kinks, still stay on Windows 10, skip right over Windows 11, if those rumors are true. I think it's worth waiting and finding out. Shamim Kajvera says, hello, sorry for being late. I was watching Italian football. Well, you know, the speaking of sports ball, the Arizona Diamondbacks, with the Diamondbacks? What's our baseball team called? They're in the World Series right now. They do a best of 7. Got to win 3 games out of 7, 4 games. Got to win 4 games out of 7. So Texas won 1, Arizona won second one. Now there's, you know, whoever gets to 4 wins first. So it's at least balanced. It's not like one team is wiping the floor with the other one so far. So that's really exciting if you're into that, which I'm not. And it's creating a lot of potential traffic downtown when the games are here. I like to play sports. I just don't like watching them. William Lynn wants to know if Microsoft will be transitioning Windows 12 to a subscription model. Well, first of all, Windows 12 is just a rumor. But if you Google search that, you'll see there's some articles from very well-respected publishers in the tech sector that have talked to Microsoft about the potential for a subscription model operating system. And Microsoft has said, absolutely no way we are ever going to have a subscription-based operating system. I think the idea is Microsoft wants to give the operating system more or less for free. That's why we can get the product keys so cheap now, because that's the platform you need to go shopping to buy other stuff. Without the operating system, then going to the Microsoft store and making purchases is impossible. So Microsoft intends to nickel and dime you through these microtransactions that are purely voluntary and not forced on you. Now, Does that mean that that's the absolute end of discussion? No, because Microsoft could be lying. We really don't know, because they won't say if they're working on Windows 12 or not, or what it's going to be, because they don't want to dissuade anybody from upgrading to Windows 11. They can't simultaneously tell you they're working on a new operating system while telling you how great the current one is. Because if the current one was so great, why would you be working on the next one? So they have to keep this. They have to keep it hush hush. They have to play their cards close to their chest so that people can't just say, "Oh, I'll just wait." In fact, they got sued for that a number of times for what we call vaporware, where they would announce a product is coming to, even though Microsoft didn't have a product in the works. Don't mind me, I'm getting another Gatorade. But they basically say, "Oh, we're working on something like that and it'll be better." And it forced these small companies to go out of business because they'd lose sales from potential customers who decided to wait and see what Microsoft has. Then when they go out of business, Microsoft never comes out with the product and never intended to. Lovely, huh? And that's called vaporware. And that is illegal. It's an unfair business tactic used to disarm your competitors, especially competitors that don't have the financial flexing that Microsoft has, and they can play those games. Gregory Howard said in southwestern Ohio, it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit and raining. Here in Phoenix, it's actually pretty nice out. 76 degrees Fahrenheit in Phoenix, clear skies. I'm just going to check my email here real quick. And it doesn't look like I've missed anything from anyone. Very good. I think that's going to be it. Let me just check any last questions here, and then we'll wrap it up for today. This will be the last you see of this. Like I said, I'll clean up this cable management probably later tonight or tomorrow afternoon. I do a members only video every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. So if you're a member, those people with the gold badges next to their name with a number, these are folks that pay $9.99 a month. And that enables me to be free of sponsors telling me to make commercials. I'm so sick and tired of watching these big tech channels that have millions of subscribers just making 20 or 30 minute long infomercials disguised as reviews that a company is paying big money for, and a company is telling them what they're allowed to say, what they are not allowed to say, and the company has to approve the video before they can even release it to the public. I mean, if that's what you want to do, if you just want to make videos for companies, have fun. For me, I just want to share my experience and encourage people to be self-sufficient, build your own computer. If you've never built one, you don't know what you're missing out on. It's like adult Lego. It's very easy. Sometimes the hard part is, picking the right parts. But there's folks in the chat that can help you with that, or you can go to PC Part Picker and, figure out what's best for your budget and then put it together yourself. It's a wonderful experience. And once you've accomplished it, you're probably going to want to do it again and again. It's very, very rewarding. Greg Hovey says, what motherboard would you pick for yourself? Oh, it doesn't really matter. I stick with any of the 4 big brands, so ASRock, MSI, Asus, or Gigabyte. I have a number of machines, as you can tell in this system here. We've got a Gigabyte board on the streamer. I built one of these for myself with the ASRock live mixer board, as you guys recall. That's in the back room. And I'm sort of agnostic when it comes to motherboard manufacturers for myself. I do worry about supporting customers when I'm building machines for customers. But for supporting myself, I'm going to look for what is the best bang for the buck, which has the most features that I need personally. So the live mixer board gave us that Gen 5. I wanted to do a Gen 5 solid state drive, see how it worked. I also liked the looks of it and liked it so much I built about 5 or 6 of those now, including this one here, which is sort of the daddy to the live mixer board. If anything, that live mixer board has gone up in price for some reason. And the new version of the 790, what do they call it? The ASRock Z790. It's like $3 less than the live mixer board. And it's the latest version of the board with Wi-Fi 7 on it. And Gen 5. And all of the M.2 slots run at by 4 speed. Some of them, one of the M.2 slots runs it by, Gen 4 by 2. Depends on the model. And so kind of depending on how much you're spending and how important that is to you, you get what you pay for. And what I like varies. It changes as different motherboard manufacturers come out with different products, and different CPUs offer different values. And maybe there's a particular case I want to use and something's going to look better in that case. So I'll go for looks. Sometimes I'm going for a certain price, or sometimes I'm going for a certain task I need the computer to do, like live streaming, for example, which is pretty much all this machine does anymore is live stream. It's ridiculous to have a machine that powerful, a 9900 KS with a liquid cooler just to live stream. But it also works as sort of eye candy to draw people in who see the thumbnail and whatnot. That looks cool. If that brings in an audience, it's money well spent. It doesn't always have to just be practical. Because quite honestly, if this wasn't showcased, I could just use the little tiny Intel Nook 9, stick it under the counter. You guys would never even see the streaming computer. I just love the concept of seeing the machine that's doing the work while we're live streaming. And that was the idea behind it. And, might as well put some lights on it, make it pretty to look at. I wouldn't do that for my own personal rig. That's got to be something on public display to justify that. Shamim wants to know what can be the benefits from a micro ATX compared to a full ATX. The number of ports you're going to get on a micro ATX board, you won't get as many slots. So generally speaking, it's not as expandable. But at the same time, you also can get a smaller case, so it can be lighter, more portable. And for the most part, they're going to run the same chipsets. They're just going to be limited to how much stuff they can put onto a smaller area. Bigger area means you can have more stuff. Smaller area means you're going to have less stuff. You can also save some money on a micro ATX board if you don't need all those slots and you don't want a big case. The smaller cases can often cost less because they're not made with as much material. They weigh less. But everything about a micro ATX and an ATX board is the same with regards to you should have 4 memory sockets you can use. You're going to use the same CPUs. Everything's going to be the same. It's just you have less ability to add stuff on. So on a machine like this, where we're not really adding anything on, we could have gotten away with a micro ATX board and gone with a micro ATX case and dropped a couple inches on the case. But there's a certain amount of flexibility that's attractive to a standard computer size, computer tower size, including all of the M.2 slots we get, which again, there's just not enough real estate to put all those M.2 slots on a smaller motherboard. So you're going to pay less, you're going to get a little less. And if you're not using more, why pay for more? So appreciate the question. And you can always Google difference between micro ATX and ATX just to see if there's some other considerations that I haven't mentioned. William Lynn wants to know if we're still going to have Studio B. What happens when you need to leave? I don't know yet. We don't have answers to everything in life. It's hard to know what tomorrow holds, but one way or another, we'll figure it out. There's nothing to worry. And let's see. Phil Hoffman says hello. K. Cordia's Technology says hello. Gregory Howard said the temperature for tomorrow is scheduled to be 46 degrees Fahrenheit for the high and 26 degrees Fahrenheit for the low. Like that. I would. Paul O'Brien says, when you have to unscrew a standoff, what screwdriver do you use? I use here in the States, we have a company called Harbor Freight Tools. And they sell they sell tools. And one of the tools they sell is a little kit with a ratcheting driver. And that ratcheting driver comes with a bunch of bits. And those standoffs are all 5mm. So as long as you have a 5mm socket and you can plug it onto the end of a screwdriver, that's all you need. You don't have to use any specific one. And standoffs have been 5mm since the 80s. It hasn't changed. NetFreak says, Carey, thanks for sharing your time, knowledge, and experience and giving top tips and info and discount deals. Take care. Well, thank you, NetFreak. Appreciate your kind words and your support. Thank you to Camera Girl for setting up today's video. It was kind of a last minute thing. Also for updating the thumbnail, all the keywords and tags. Thank you, Camera Girl. Thanks again to Beth for letting us share her build with everybody so we can all watch it. Like I said, I've got a number of machines I've got to get done. So I don't think we're going to see this one again. Once I get it cable managed, I want to get it out the door as quickly as possible. So Beth, I'm sure, is anxious to have it and can start using it. And then hopefully she'll pop into the chat and let us know what she thinks of it once she's got it in her hands and has some time to familiarize herself with it. I hope she loves it. Brandon said 46 degrees Fahrenheit in Michigan. Am I ready for trick-or-treaters? Oh, always. Dave Hall said, would you recommend a full desktop computer over the microcomputers you've been reviewing? It depends on the customer's needs and budget. In some cases, I recommend the smaller computers. In other cases, I recommend laptops. In other cases, I recommend desktop computers. It really depends on the needs of the individual. I don't just blanket statement that this is one size fits all, good for everybody. I don't think that that would be being a technician. I think that would just be, being somebody who is making a lot of noise but saying nothing. By consulting with people and understanding what their needs are, what their future needs are going to be, what much money they've got to spend, based on all the answers to all those variables, then a recommendation is made to match those needs. So there's not any one answer. Some people may want just a cheap little box to put next to the TV to do Plex. They don't need anything. This is ridiculous for that. Other people may want to do some pretty intense computing, and it might be difficult to do on a lower end budget machine, regardless of its size. So it all depends on the customer. It's all, if you're looking for a one size fits all solution, Apple is really for you, because you go to an Apple store and everybody gets the same thing. The variations you have are very, very few and far between. It's very expensive because they don't burden you with having to make any decisions. Whereas the whole benefit of being in the PC world is that you can customize things to fit your needs, your individual preferences. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't even have to make any sense. As long as it's what you want, that's all that matters. Okay, Cordius Technology with a $2 super chat says, this is my broadcast fee for the Sunday stream. Thank you, K. Cordius. Thank you for supporting the channel. John Lewis says he's got a low today of 79 degrees Fahrenheit, a high of 83 in Brazil. Thank you for all your consistent quality. Well, thank you, John. It's pretty neat that we have viewers in Scotland, Brazil, Canada, England, New Zealand. What? Is there somebody from Japan in there today? Somebody's in Okinawa? Wow, that's cool. William Lynn says, do you still have clients calling you for issues outside of regular maintenance? Yes, always. If you're going to get into this line of work, then you can't control why somebody's calling you. And they don't memorize the contract. They got their life going on, right? So they have a problem. If the first thing they do is call me, I'm flattered by it, first of all. And I will let them know, hey, that's your phone system. I don't touch your phones. You need to call your phone guy. Or that's your copy machine people. I don't touch your copy machines. You need to call them. Sometimes they just need a little guidance, right? They're not necessarily calling expecting me to fix it. However, the reason they're calling It's not like they want to sit there and be on the phone all day. Want to get they want to get off the phone with somebody in motion to getting their problem resolved. And so sometimes what I have to do is just let them know who the person is they need to call. Or I had a client call with a weird problem for something I never set up for them, dealing with their browser. And I'd never seen this before. I didn't even know they were using their browser in this way. There's some kind of a web portal. The customer stated it was only happening to them and nobody else in the office. And I said, well, can you let me log in remotely and you can show it to me? And they said, well, I'm leaving for a week, so I can do that next week. So I logged into the machine after they had gone, and I just hit reset on the Chrome browser. And then I sent them an email and said, hey, when you come back from vacation, just sign back into the browser and let me know if the problem's still exists. But it really wasn't my problem to fix. It was really the developer that writes their code. He was the one they needed. They have several different, it's a big company. They've got several different specialists that they call. One for phones, one for security system, one for their copy machines, and one for their software that they use, some proprietary software they've designed. And I guess this guy moved it to the cloud and now they're accessing it. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even know when this happened. But it looked like an easy problem. Now, try that out. So we'll find out next week. If they call again, then the problem still exists, and I'll guide them to calling the developer. If the problem is solved now by resetting the browser, which is all I can imagine it could be, then I probably won't ever hear from them. So sometimes the way I know a problem is fixed is just stop getting calls. Old Man 55 says, Carey, you are on speed dial. Well, they pay for that privilege, so that's fine. William Lynn says, thanks for all the advice. Love your content. All right. Well, thanks, William. Thanks for joining us. So again, tomorrow, Mondays, every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific time, are members only live broadcasts. So if you're a member, you can join in the chat and watch those videos. The public can never watch those videos. They can't even see them. That is a benefit of membership. Also, if you're a member, you can always reach out to me privately if you have some questions or concerns, technical questions. I consider you guys like customers in that way. When I get Facebook messages and email requests from viewers that are not members, I generally don't have time to respond to them. But I always make time to respond to my members. It's just a benefit of membership, and don't think that you're bothering me. If you're a member, I love hearing from you guys. And if you're not a member, please consider supporting the channel so I can remain independent and not have to become one of those other tech channels that just, makes sponsorship money and makes commercials. I really don't want to do that. In fact, I will probably completely change the channel to something else like cooking before I will ever do that. So that being said, we do have a handful of sponsors that we work with in that way, but they're not traditional sponsors. They don't control any of my content or tell me what I say. That includes VIP CDK deals, our friends over at $300 Data Recovery. I think all these companies, they offer you a great service and a great value. They're all products I use and recommend myself. Cronus software for imaging and cloning, RoboForm for password management. I don't think I don't think any other password manager competes either on just the robustness and ease of use, as well as the incredible value that it affords you, where you can install RoboForm on any number of devices with your one license. So if you've got a tablet and you've got a phone and you've got a desktop and you've got a laptop and a work PC, you can put your RoboForm on all of those, as many as you got, for that one license. And it's an annual subscription base, and you want that because you want to keep everything secured and encrypted and make sure nobody can get their hands on your passwords. I don't know how I would live without RoboForm. And thanks to all of you guys for joining me today and for being members and being supportive. I appreciate y'all. And I will see you all very soon. And Gregory Howard says he's going to be busy tomorrow. All right, well, we'll miss you tomorrow, Gregory, but we'll look forward to seeing you again next time you're here. Thanks for joining us today. Shamim says, is it better to contact you by phone or by email? I think email is probably the easiest, especially when you're in another country. Phone calls can be expensive in the time zone. You know, you could be calling at 3 o'clock in the morning. So what's great about email is it doesn't ever interrupt me. I can go to an email when I have time and answer it when I have time. And that's probably the best way. Also, sometimes when I speak, I'm not heard. That's frustrating when someone asks the same question 3 or 4 times. So if you get it in writing, you know, you've got it, you can refer back to it. So I think email is probably the best. My clients who need support right now, my local clients, of course, I encourage them to call me because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for that immediate, hey, we need help right now service. But yeah, I would say if you need help right this second, I'm probably not the guy you want to reach out to. You want to find somebody locally. But always, yeah, feel free to email. You can use the email address in the YouTube About section of my YouTube channel and do what I can to get you an answer or point you in a direction. Of course, I really appreciate when people ask their questions during live chat because it enables the community to benefit from your question. It also enables the community to answer your question in a different way than I will. They might even interpret your question differently. I might get your question completely misunderstood. So you're benefiting yourself and the community when you participate in the chat with your questions. That being said, as I mentioned, as a member, you're welcome to reach out and email. If you have any technical issues or anything I can help with, I'll do my best to try. And thank you all for being members, those of you who are. And I think that'll wrap it up for me for today. Thank you for watching. I will see you all again probably on Tuesday. I'll see my members tomorrow, Monday at the regular time, 1 o'clock. And until next time, now.